Yeah, it's Dishin with Ditty, and don't he look so pretty while he talks and talks and talks and talks to you?
What?
it's Dishin with Ditty. He's handsome, he's witty.
Absolutely.
Don't you wanna be dishing all day too? Go on and take a seat, the show is free, so listen. You can watch as he meets and greets, don't miss it now. The curtain's coming down, there's a new guest in town.
To dish with me.
Then come talk with thee. Yeah, it's Dishin with Ditty, from the village to the city. And don't you wanna be dishing all day too? Ditty.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dishin with Ditty. I am Jeff Hoffman, alias H-Mo Ditty, and I'm so thrilled that you guys are with us for today. You have come at a wonderful time to see the show. If it's your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. If it's not your first time and you're one of our regulars, thank you so much for all your loyalty and your coming back week after week. We have a really terrific show today. A very good friend of mine, Jeffrey Sanzel, who's the artistic director of Theater 3 in Port Jeff, New York, and a dynamite talent, Valerie DiLorenzo, who is a singer, actress, and cabarista. And we're going to ask her the origin of that word. I love it. I love that word. This week, actually, it was the week before, I believe, the week that we were off. Some semblance of theater came back a little bit in the Berkshires. There was the first equity production of Godspell, and it was distanced, and it was everyone had masks, and there were partitions between the actors. There was no contact between the actors. There was 25 feet between the front of the stage and the first row. 3 mornings a week, the actors had to be tested. They went to local hospital and got tested 3 mornings a week. They performed outside. They were lucky because in the show Godspell, it's not a big show in the sense that there's hundreds of cast members. So the performers, the 10 performers in the show, had home bases behind these partitions. And I hear really, really terrific things about it. Is it theater? Yeah, it's theater. But it's theater, unfortunately, for our times. And hopefully, as time goes by, we'll be able to maybe reduce some of these things and get back to some kind of normalcy. For the time being, the audience walking in is going to be, have their temperature checked and seated at a distance and have masks on. And but that's our new norm right now, for at least for the time being. But that being said, if we get a little bit of theater back from it, then let's do it. But we'll see what the final, not reviews, but the final say is about this from the performers and from the staff. So stay tuned, because more is coming. We hope. It's probably going to be a while until we have theater in New York City. But hopefully, not too distant future, we'll have theater on Long Island, which is a perfect segue for my first guest, who might even know a little something about Long Island theater. Such a good friend of mine, and I'm so thrilled that he agreed to be on, Mr. Jeffrey Sanzel. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello, Professor Doctor.
How's things?
Okay, how are you?
Okay. The same as everybody. I was just talking about the production of Godspell, which Randy Parsons, I believe, designed the set for us, which is
Yes.
one of our set designer at Theater 3. Had you had any conversations with him about it?
Oh yeah, we've been talking all along because he was actually hired for like 5 shows up there this summer, and then kept getting reduced to this one. It was on, it was off, it was on, it was off, it's on. So he told me about the whole process. I'm actually going up on Sunday to see the show
Oh, great.
because I'm very curious
Yes.
to see what the new almost norm is.
Right. Right.
But Randy said it was interesting, but it's kind of like what you said. It's not what we're used to. It's not what we think of theater, but it might have to be for a while.
Right. Now, do you know, is the audience covered as well as the performers in a tent, or is it?
I believe the tent flaps are open on the side, and
Right.
there are fans, for breeze. But I know that they're socially distanced
Yeah.
in the tent.
Yeah.
They're only seating between like 75 and 100 people.
Right. Right. Well, like we said, obviously, if this is how we have to do it to get something, that's what it'll be, I guess. So I'm so thrilled. Thank you, first of all, for being here. And when I was sitting down to think about questions to ask you, I'm thinking to myself, well, some of this stuff I know, and some of this stuff I really don't know. We've had some time to sit and talk, but not so much time. I know you started out. You went to Purchase Conservatory,
Mhm.
and you studied acting and directing there.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I went, well, I went in as an actor, and they basically said, "You're really not a very good actor."
Oh, come on.
No, no, this is true. But at that time, I had an interest in directing, and they felt that I had the right quality. I had started directing later in high school and in the summers, so they actually gave me my own directing program,
Wow.
which was a combination of acting classes and design tech classes. So I took costume, and I took stagecraft and stage management,
Right.
and I assisted every guest director that came through that year,
Wow.
and I directed some small stuff. It was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
I was lucky that I was mentored by some very, very brilliant people, in particular George Morrison, Joe Stockdale, but it was a mixed experience.
Sure. Sure. But when you went into the school, were you thinking, I'm going to be an actor, this is what I'm going to do? And was
Yes,
directing something that floated around your head, or was that
yes,
like?
I had done some directing and I liked it and I was very comfortable with it and I'd done some writing, but no, I went in to be an actor. I was one of those high school actors, very, very big fish in a very, very little pond.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
so that's what I went in to do. And very quickly they decided that's not what I should be doing.
That was very nice of them to decide that for
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I have a lot of thoughts over the 30 years since I've been there
Yeah.
about what theater training should be. And
Right.
that actually has fed into a lot of the work I've done at Theater 3 and the company work we do with the young actors who are in
Right.
residence each year.
Right.
And
Yes.
I feel how I feel about training young actors and what I think works better.
Yes.
And as you know, Matthew went through a training program that had a lot of great stuff, but then other stuff that wasn't as strong.
Yes. Yes.
So,
It's very interesting, to me, like, when we finally got to work together, and I got to work alongside you with doing musicals, and then later on, uh, being directed by you. The thing that always popped into my head, and the observation that I made was, you are so much of a teacher, that the amount that of knowledge that the people that work with you get. You're not only a director, but you're a teacher, and the we come out of the experience so much better for it, because you have a teacher's gift. I mean, you are a teacher inside, you know.
I like that element of it. Yeah.
yeah, and the difference between a director who just directs and a director who likes to allow you to find things and but also gives you information to to digest is amazing. And that's what we get. That's what we get when we're with you. It's
Well, thank you. I think I should sign off now.
no, don't go anywhere yet. Don't go anywhere yet. I'm curious. I know when we do a show, you regularly give out a packet when we first start of research. How quickly, how soon before you start a production do you start your research and your investigation of everything going on?
Well, I'm the artistic director at Theater 3. So, there's a group of us that
Right,
pick the season. Once the season's picked, I
right.
actually start working on bits and pieces of everything. Like
Mm-hmm.
even like I knew I was directing Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which was supposed to be this coming spring. It'll be the following spring.
Right.
But I got the book. I started reading up on that. Um, I would say at least a month and a half to 2 months before rehearsal, I start on the research. And that's usually reading as much as I can, reading stuff by the authors, listening to music by the composers,
Right.
looking at source material. Like the first time I did Jekyll and Hyde, I looked at every movie version I could get my hands on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I probably watched, 8 versions. When I did Treasure Island, I think I watched 15 different film and cartoon versions.
Mm-hmm.
And 90% of the time, what you look at or read doesn't come into play. But the more you expand that, the larger that 10% is. And you
Yes.
never know. You might look at one thing and go, that's what I want that to look like.
Uh-huh.
That's it. So I can show Randy, or I can show the costume designer, this is kind of what I have in mind. Or
Right.
it's an image that helps the actors. I mean, the
Right.
kits are just as much for me as they are for them. And
Mm-hmm.
there are some actors who just love the kits and others who take the kits and throw them in the back seat when they get into the car after first rehearsal. So,
Well, I personally love them because I like when I'm doing a show. I love to do whether I'm musical directing or directing. I like to know all that information. It may not color every single thing that we do, but at least it's somewhere back there.
yeah, it's not going to hurt. And I believe it looking at as much as I possibly can.
Right.
I try to avoid necessarily looking at other productions
Right.
of what I'm doing, but everything that circles around the source to me is always worth looking at.
Yes. Yes. Um, when you got to Theater 3 in it was 2002, 2000,
Actually, it was 1989.
1989.
I
Wow.
came, I graduated Purchase in 87, and I taught in a Catholic school for 2 years where
Mhm.
I directed Godspell while I was at Purchase. And then my apartment mate, Eric Paper at Purchase, had started at Theater 3 when he was in high school.
Wow.
And I was looking to leave teaching. And he said, they're looking for somebody to be the children's theater coordinator. It's right up your alley. So he connected me with Brent, and I had an interview with Bradley Bing, who was the artistic director, Jerry Friedman, Brent Erlinson, and Ronnie Pyrals. I had 2 very long interviews, and they hired me. I started end of June 89. And so I was children's theater coordinator. And then I guess I became artistic director in 93.
Wow. Wow. And there's a lot of water under that bridge. I mean, how
Yes.
how
Yes.
many how many shows have you ever counted? How
I
many?
know between main stage, second stage, children's theater, one acts, and touring shows, it's somewhere between 300 and 400.
Wow.
And
Unbelievable.
there are ones I've done multiple times, and there are children's
Sure.
shows we put up every year and touring shows, but I'd say between 300 and 400. And if you count the individual one acts, in the festival, I've directed like 120 one
Wow.
acts in the
Yes.
festival
Yeah.
that we've had now for 24 years.
Yes. So the one acts are so for people who don't know, the one acts are is a festival that you do each year, and
Yes.
you get submissions of one act plays, and
Yes,
then
they're
do
all
how many do you do
we do
each?
5 or 6 as we've done as many as 7 in a festival. We
Uh-huh.
get in anywhere from say 350 to 700 submissions each year from across the world.
Right.
And then the criteria is they have to be unproduced. They have to be original pieces. And so we've been doing that for 24 years.
Very
Um,
successfully. The people
yes,
really enjoy it. Y-
it's
It's
something different.
Yes, yes, and um, something for everybody, because if you don't like one of them, the next one's coming up, and you're gonna, you know what I mean. And it. I haven't heard anybody that didn't walk out saying it was a great evening. You know.
It's what's wonderful is it's an evening for people who like theater.
Yes.
It's not about the tech. It's not
Right.
about sets, lights, costumes. It's about the playwright's words and the acting. And it's intimate. We do it on second stage. We seat 90 people in three
Hmm.
quarter,
Hmm.
three sides. It's my pet project.
Sure.
It's pure theater and it's exciting. And that's where I get to do stuff that's, off the beaten path. Sometimes it's nonlinear, which is kind of fun.
Right.
It's a little more experimental. It's a little bit more adult.
Yep. Yep. How many submissions would you normally get? Not necessarily that you would pick, but that you would get.
Well, when we first started, and this is before the internet was big, we get 50, 75, 100, and then 200, then 500. And then one year we got 750.
Wow.
I would say we hover between 4 and 500 every year
That's
submissions, and they come from all across the world.
yeah, yeah, and that's a lot of reading.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I've read many, many bad plays.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. I'm sure
Sometimes I
you
want to send a letter saying a tree died for this.
have. Well, the the people write, but they don't have, where are they going to have their plays produced? And it's good to get the feedback. I'm sure a lot of people that aren't getting produced by you still get feedback from you, and I'm sure it's
Um, no,
no, huh? Okay.
no, not only the only playwrights I'll give feedback to are the ones that I've produced and I haven't
Oh,
picked their play and I have a relationship. But
right.
giving feedback is hard, as you
Hmm.
know. It's
Yes.
the same as giving feedback to an actor who didn't get a part.
Right.
And I have a rule now that I developed years ago. If an actor doesn't get a part and they approach me, why didn't I get it? I say, get in touch with me in 6 to 8 weeks and we'll talk
Hmm.
about it then because it's too fresh. And I
Yes.
understand that they're not in a place where they can hear the feedback.
Right.
They need some distance to take it in. And of course, 99% of the time, 6, 8 weeks go by, they're not interested anymore. They've gone on to other
Onto
things.
other things. Yeah.
In all the years I've offered that, I think maybe 6 people, 7 people
Hmm.
have followed up and said, I really want feedback on my audition. But
Right.
I find that what an actor wants to hear is, I made a terrible mistake and I will fire the actor I hired and you have the part and I will make a public apology. And I get it, and
Yeah.
you understand it too. We're actors and it's so
R-
exposed when you're an actor.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I understand that and I feel terrible,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
any actor who gets up there and doesn't get a role, but there just aren't enough parts
Right.
for
And
everyone.
it's part of it, it is part and parcel of the business too. I mean, you're by just showing up to audition, you're opening yourself up, and sometimes that's a tough thing for people to do. And we're in a situation where, you know, at least Long Island theater, you're going to get wonderful people walking through the door, and
Yeah.
and then you're going to get people who never were even on stage before, and have an inkling that they'd like to try it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
sometimes there are people with no experience, as we've seen, that we say, oh, this is wonderful. Let's take a
Yes.
chance. But
Yes.
it's fair is a very tricky word when
Yeah.
you talk about something so subjective. And I had a wonderful stage manager, worked for me for years, Maureen Spanos,
Hmm.
and she was listening to an actor complain about not getting the part and how it wasn't fair. And she looked at her and she said, "Fair to whom?" And it's such a true thing, is,
Yeah,
fair to the actor, fair to the play, fair to the production, fair to the rest of the cast.
absolutely.
And again, I've made mistakes in casting.
Yep.
Sometimes you take a risk because you
Yep.
see something and it doesn't work out.
Sure.
And other times you think this is this person's role and it's a miss.
Yep.
It's so subjective, and how much can you find out in a
Yes.
10, 15, 20-minute audition?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, you know, one of the things that I love about Theater 3 is that there are, besides the acting school and the plays and the musicals that you guys produce with the kids, that students are allowed to be in main stage shows if they're needed in for certain parts. And one of the biggest ones is Christmas Carol,
Yeah.
which is tell us how Christmas Carol came about.
Well, before Theater 3 existed for 10 years before it moved into the building in 1979,
Right.
Bradley being his artistic director. And the first 5 years they were in the building, 79 to 83, I think, they did Christmas Carol.
Uh-huh.
And then they did at the holiday season. Then for 5 years they did other shows.
Right.
And the year I was hired, it was a coincidence that they brought it back. And Vivian
Mhm.
Koutrakis, our managing director, was our box office manager at the time, was the biggest champion of Christmas Carol.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and still to this day is.
Yeah.
Nobody loves Christmas Carol like Vivian, except me. And she championed it. And
Yep.
I was hired that year's children's theater coordinator. And through a series of events, I ended up directing and adapting it. And I had done it when I was teaching. So I'd
Mhm.
already got my feet wet with it. And then it became an obsession.
Sure.
The next year, when it came to discuss it, there were some rumblings about not doing it. And once again, Vivian went to bat for it and said,
Mhm.
"No, this is what we do. This is what we do well. We need to do it. It's good box office." And so Brent Erlinson and Jeanette Cooper and I wrote an original musical, which was kind of interesting because it was a play within a play,
Right.
which did okay. And that was my first year playing Scrooge at the theater.
Uh-huh.
And I played a young actor playing Scrooge in this Connecticut theater's production of A Christmas Carol. It was a little meta.
Right.
And then the next year I adapted and played Scrooge. And then the next year I did that. And then I took over as director. And
Right.
we've never looked back.
Right.
And we never will.
Yep.
You know, I've had some other artistic directors say, when are you going to stop doing Christmas Carol? And of course, the quote is, "When they pry it out of my cold dead hands."
Yes.
It's
Yes.
become kind of a way of life.
Well, yes.
Um,
And for everyone at the theater, but also for the audience who comes back year after year after year after year to see it. There's and what I love about it is there's always something new happening.
yes,
You're not content to just let it sit. And you know, how is it? Are you already thinking the year that you're doing it, what you want to make changes for the following year?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on stage and I get an idea and I walk off and I say to the crew person, "Write this down because I'm not going to remember it."
Yeah.
The Want Child that has become kind of the center focus of our production, who follows Scrooge around that specter, I got that idea while on stage
Uh-huh.
doing the show.
Wow.
And the whole image with that, and it's stayed with me ever since.
Yeah.
And it kind of became the heart and soul of it, but I'm always working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a day goes by I don't think about Christmas Carol, but of course it does help that my entire living room and half my house is Christmas Carol.
Right.
Or as
Okay.
one Bob Cratchit said, "The Jew who loved Christmas Carol."
Well, for those of you who have not seen Christmas Carol, we have a little clip of promotional clip of some of the scenes. So here is, if I can do this right, here's Christmas Carol. So yeah, it's absolutely spectacularly gorgeous to watch. You know, I've seen it so many times now, but every time I go into the theater to see it, and it could be the same year, like there have been years I've seen it more than once in a given year, and you see things that you didn't see the first time, and I go, Jeff changed that? But it's not. It's just there's so much to look at and so much to see, and it's so beautiful that sometimes you're focused on something, and then you see it again and you notice there's something else going on. So layered, Jeff.
Thank
And
you.
ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had an opportunity, you know, I don't know what this year is going to bring, but you know, it'll be back. It'll be back, and it is a wonderful Long Island tradition. You know, I look forward to it every year. Just terrific. Tell us. This is one of those questions. Okay. This is the talk show question. All right.
Okay.
Tell us something that nobody knows about what it is like to produce a show on Long Island in our situation. Like people walk in the door and they see the show and they say, that was a great show, or I don't know, it was okay, or what but most of the time when they walk out of Theater 3, they're walking out with smiles on their faces, and they're loving everything they see. What's one thing that you think that nobody really knows about that is part and parcel of producing a show at Theater 3?
You mean the audience?
Yes.
Something audiences aren't aware of.
Right.
That's a good question. I mean, you know, I've been doing this for so many years, so you get to know subscribers, and they start asking, you know, questions. They want to know things, and there are so many things that surprise them. One thing that surprises them is the majority of our actors are local. You know, and you know, are these people from New York? Are they? No, they have other jobs. That's one thing, and I think that's a real tribute to Long Island talent. And I am a great believer in the talent of Long Island actors. I constantly hear about, well, we're going to go into the city to get this and that, and I never felt the need.
Right.
I love Long Island actors, and I'm not from Long Island originally. I'm a transplant for this job, and I've been amazed at the wealth of talent and the depth that these actors can get to. The other thing that always shocks people is when they find out how much it really costs to put up a show. I think the royalties are something they can't wrap their heads around when they realize you're talking, you know, in the thousands and thousands of dollars just to get the rights and the orchestrations before you start casting and building and publicizing. So those are the two things in two very different arcs of the spectrum.
Right. Very interesting. So recently, though, we've been loving watching the new series of Offstage Online, which, like this show, you know, was born of the pandemic.
Yes.
but you know, talk about a lot of work. I mean, you guys are doing 2 shows a week?
Yes.
Tell us about that. How did the idea come and, you know
Well, we were, several weeks into the pandemic, and we were trying to figure out how can we keep Theater 3 out there. And I had one person who was constantly emailing me, you need to do staged readings. And I went to a few online and I realized, well, these are not for me. And I
Mhm.
realized I don't even like staged readings in real life. Um, I also realized that when somebody sends me a video and I see, oh, that's 90 minutes, it goes into that folder to delete later.
Right.
So I think I need to do something small. Of course,
Yeah.
the first thing that came up was, I could do an interview show, but of course, if I were any stiffer, I would be a bored. So no, it's true. And having watched you do these interviews, it further reminds me of how stiff and uncomfortable I am.
Oh,
So
stop.
I'm glad I didn't go that route. And I saw other theaters doing that. I saw theaters doing concerts, and I thought, well, what do we do that's different? Well, we have our One Act Festival.
Right.
And so I talked to Doug and Vivian and Andy Markowitz, our board president, Melissa Troxler, our amazing stage manager.
Yes.
And I said, I have this idea. What if we did plays that were like 1 to 10 minutes? And I thought, how
Mhm.
hard can that be? So I put out a call, and I would say within 3 days, I had 150 submissions.
Wow.
Um, to date, as of yesterday, we've received 726 submissions.
Holy
Um,
cow.
We've produced 31 and we have 9 more coming up, including a double feature. We used 113 actors. You know me, I love numbers. I love,
Yes. Yes.
statistics, but
Right.
it turned out to be much, much more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've learned is Zoom is not your friend. Um, as you know, Jeff, you've done 2 of these. Everybody has a different camera and a different
Yeah.
microphone and a different bandwidth and internet. And
Yep.
we find ourselves doing pickup shots. So it was a real learning curve.
Yes.
And then Tim Haggerty, who's our resident sound designer, took on the technical direction of this, which
Right.
he spends, I can't tell you how many hours a week editing.
Yep.
Because right now we have one going up tomorrow night, that Wednesday night, that he just finished editing the first draft, but sometimes he'll do 7 drafts.
Right. Right.
And we look at them, and then I think we have 6 more in rehearsal and 3 more going into rehearsal all over the next week and a half. So
Wow.
sometimes, like tomorrow, there'll be 3 rehearsals and 2 tapings.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Everybody's donating their time. But
Right.
what's been really exciting is bringing back actors who haven't worked for us in years.
Huh.
And people from all over. Sarah Markowitz actually did it from Israel.
Wow.
We just had to arrange rehearsals with the time zones. I've got
Time.
some people doing
Sure.
it from California.
Sure.
But it's very challenging because it's a stationary camera, it's talking heads,
Right.
it's
Right.
like the worst of film, theater, and television all in one package. And yet we found these wonderful plays that people have written for the medium. The
Yep.
actors have invested in it. I've seen some incredible, incredible performances, funny, touching, beautiful, raw, things that
Mhm.
speak to what we're going through right now, and then things that are just universal.
Right.
We had a hilarious play on Sunday about people trying to get into heaven, and we have a
Right.
very serious play on Wednesday about demonic possession.
Mm.
So
Wow.
it's constantly changing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it is so entertaining, and the fact that they are short, under 15 minutes, um you're never bored watching it, because it's concise, it's compact, and the performances have been pretty, unanimously outstanding. um
I've been truly thrilled, and these are all stage actors who've
yeah.
so beautifully adapted to this medium. And again,
Yeah.
these are, they're all people I've worked with at one point or another, with 1 or 2 exceptions.
Right.
Some of them have gone on to other things, and all theater. And they've bought into it.
Yep.
They
Yep.
invest into it, and they just do just incredible work.
So great. So great. Folks, if you haven't, I'm going to put up the banner again.
Thank you.
If you haven't, Theater 3 has a YouTube channel. And all you need to do is type in Theater 3, search Theater 3's YouTube channel. Every Wednesday and Sunday night at 7:00 is a new play. And they're entertaining, sometimes hysterically funny, sometimes very, very emotional. And I've been so fortunate to be asked to do 2 of them. I had such an amazing time, both performing and also being directed by Mr. Sanzel, which is an absolute joy. But to take a look, they're there, and Jeff, they're there even if they miss them, right? They're up on
they're posted. They're posted. All 31 so far are up there, and you can go back. And I do want to jump in on something.
Yes,
I had the pleasure of seeing you 30 years ago, and I love my wife.
Yes.
At Arena.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you. I actually didn't meet you for many years, but I remembered, gosh, what a wonderful actor, what a funny, honest actor. And then I met you years later as a musical director, just in passing. And then we started working together. But something that came out of this pandemic was the opportunity to work with you as an actor, having remembered that from 30 years ago, and you gave 2 very different, very beautiful, honest performances.
Thank you. It is such a joy. Every time, I miss that. I miss acting. It's life takes you wherever it takes you, and musical direction is usually number one, and I love doing that. But I also miss and I never realized, we've had a conversation about, I never realized just how much I miss doing it until I started doing it again with you guys. So I thank you. I thank you for that. I have a final question for you. And this is an unfair question. It's like saying which one of your children.
Are you going to ask me which one is my favorite?
What do you have a favorite? Not something necessarily that you directed, because I think that's really unfair. But what are some of your favorite roles that you have performed?
Scrooge is kind of in its own little box,
right?
Because I keep taking it out. It's like it doesn't go away. So it's not even in a box. It just sits on the counter staring at me. I mean, I played Fagin twice. The first time I was really horrible.
Right.
And then the second time when I was a little more age appropriate, that was fun. I Am My Own Wife. Mary Powers directed me in that. And that was a real challenge. I spent a year working on that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Man in Chair in Drowsy Chaperone, when I saw it on Broadway, I looked and said, I'm going to do this when we do it. And rarely do I say that. Usually I'm like, somebody else can play. And Vivian and Andy are always the ones who are like, nope, you're going to do this. I wasn't going to play Fagin. And Steve McCoy actually brought it up. And Vivian and Andy were like, yes, you should. I was like, Drowsy Chaperone, I saw that role and I said, that is so close to my growing up, to my life, that show albums, as you know, I mean, that was my love as a kid and as an adult.
Sure.
And I just connected with that. So that's a role that it was a great joy to do. Tom Evans, it was his first time directing for us, directed. Sari Feldman was our choreographer and was amazing. And Ellen Mitchellmore was the musical director. And of course, Ellen was one of the great hearts and souls of the theater. So it was just, and we had an amazing cast.
Yes.
I love that piece.
I'm so glad you said that. They call me the king of the transitions for a reason.
There you go.
I'm so glad you said. Jeff was so kind to provide a little short clip. Oh, I just hit the microphone. A little short clip from Drowsy, and this is just a little taste of the hilarity that was on that stage. Here's Jeff in Drowsy Chaperone.
There you Before you do anything, think about this. No matter how well you play the part of the happy wife, you'll never, ever get a standing ovation.
Oh, I just don't know. I'm so conflicted. Please, chaperone, just this once. Couldn't you give me some advice that is coherent and appropriate to the situation? Should I marry Robert?
Okay, here it comes. The moment I was talking about, not only the culmination of the plot, but a moment that has fascinated me more than any other, and that has brought me back to this record again and again. Here it comes.
Well, my advice to you...
This is it. Listen.
While you can.
You see, you can't quite make out what she says because someone drops a cane. Here, I'll play it for you again.
While you can.
Is she saying, live while you can, or leave while you can?
While you can.
I mean, it's Beatrice Stockwell, so it might just be a cynical quip. But this is a wedding, after all, and that's exactly what you think when you're standing at the altar, isn't it? Live or leave. And you have to live because you do love her in some way. It's not an exact science. An arrow doesn't come down out of the sky and point to the one you're supposed to be with. So one day you say it to someone, you say, I love you, and you basically phrase it as a question, and they accept it as fact, and then suddenly there she is, standing in front of you in a $3,000 dress with tears in her eyes, and her nephew made the hoopah. So what do? Do you say, I was kidding, I was joking? No, you can't. You live, right? You choose to live. And so for a couple of months, you stare at this alien form in the bed beside you, and you think to yourself, who are you? Who are you? One day you say it out loud, and then it's a trial separation and couples counseling. All your conversations are about her eating disorder and your Zoloft addiction, and you're constantly redefining and reevaluating and revisiting before you lose the deposit on the house, and the whole relationship ends on a particularly ugly note with your only copy of Gypsy spinning through the air and smashing against the living room wall. But still, in the larger sense, in a broader sense, it's better to have lived than left, right?
While you can.
You have no idea how many times I've listened to that.
Chaperone, you have quite a way with words.
So great, Jeff. Just
Thank you.
absolutely great. Thanks so much for lending that to us to see. That's awesome. That's awesome. Someday maybe we can do that. You can do that again. I would love to be able to musical direct that again. It's a great show. And you were perfect in it.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
perfect. Well, thank you so much. Don't go away though.
I won't.
We're gonna put you into the green room. It's not really green, but and then we'll have you back out soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. So up next is Valerie, and you're in for a really special treat. Valerie DiLorenzo has been on the theatrical stage in cabarets, in New York, Long Island, Florida, all over. I'm going to just bring her in, and we can find out exactly what she's been up to. Hi, Val.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm really, really good. Thank you.
I love the backdrop. It's so plush looking.
Dramatic. It's red.
It is. It's great. Your sound is great. The volume is perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You know how this is for live performers to be working in their house and trying to make it seem like did I say too much?
No, not.
I live like this, but this is the new normal.
Exactly. It's incredible. It's incredible. So you've been performing for quite a long time, but we can let's go back to the very beginning. Where did you grow up on Long Island? Where did you?
No, I grew up in Westchester.
Oh, okay.
I grew up I grew up in Yonkers,
Uh-huh.
but my parents bought a house in Sag Harbor.
Right.
And so we spent weekends and summers out here. So I had always considered Sag Harbor my home. And
Sure.
so now I've lived here for 8 years. But no, I grew up in Yonkers, went to public school and did all that theater stuff there.
Yep.
And, yeah.
And
So
then-
I know
and-
the purchase that Jeff was talking about. That's so funny that he went
Right.
there.
Oh,
World,
that's-
right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you were in high school, and obviously you did, high school theater and all that. Do you remember the point in time where you said to yourself, I think I want to do this professionally, and made that path?
Oh, wow. Well, I think it was a little bit of a journey. First of all, my second grade teacher we did Morning Glow from Pippin as a choral song. I was in second grade.
Oh my God.
Dating myself now.
Yeah.
So then, and I thought that was fantastic. And then, I always took choir and acting class. And then when I went into high school, I did the musicals, but in the chorus. I mean, I was, what do I want to say? I'm an introverted extrovert. That's how I've come to terms with this. So I like being in front of an audience. I have no problem like dealing with people and talking to people, but I totally went into my own world. So then I did No No Nanette.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of my favorite shows of all time. And I did study theater in college.
Right.
But you know what? My father and my mother, they were extremely supportive, but they thought, we've never known anyone who's like gone into theater, and they didn't want me to be rejected. And honestly, I worked a little bit after college and always did theater, always, always, always. And then I think I was, 27, 28. And I said, you know what? I'm not happy. Like I want to do this. And I remember my parents at that time said, you know what? We want you to be happy too.
Right.
So go. So I did.
Right.
And,
And what did that look like, Val? When, like, in other words, you made that decision. Did you jump into Manhattan and say, I'm just going to do it? And what was that like? That's a scary thing.
It's very, very scary. And so I got myself a vocal coach, and I worked with a vocal coach, a voice teacher. I had an acting coach. I went to dance lessons, and then I just went to every audition that I could go on in the city and any kind of surrounding areas, summer stock, things like that. And I just did it. I just immersed myself in the world. And I was very, very lucky because I had some really great mentors and really great people along the way. But it's quite a world. And I kind of figured it out as I went along.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's really the only way you can do it when, nowadays, the theater programs in these colleges do just an okay job of saying, all right, now you're an actor, you're a performer, go and do it. And some do better jobs than others in terms of, supporting those people after they leave. The vast majority of students leaving college, now they're on their own and they have to figure it out just like everybody else did.
They have to figure it out. And I think the thing that no one really tells you, and I don't know what college programs do now, but it's a business. Like I'm very grateful that I have, I went and got an MBA, because I thought I was going into a totally different line of work. But I'm grateful for the business background because I'm my own business. And so I have to manage things, and you have to learn how to manage yourself financially and manage your brand and thinking about headshots and auditions and transportation and what about this job and what about that? So it's a constant thing, and you're always looking to the next job.
Yes.
I remember at Actors Equity, the first meeting I went to when I got my card, they said, acting is the only business in which a 3-month job is considered like a long-term job.
Yeah. It's very, very true.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that I teach high school students who, some of which have gone on to have lovely careers, and some are now just thinking about it. And it's something that we try to stress is that it's a business. It's not called show business for nothing.
Right.
That you are a brand, and you have to carefully, market yourself as if you're a product. And we don't know each other that long, but from what I see of you do this very, very well. You're very good at um, cultivating the business. And so it's really a joy to watch you navigate the different sides of it. So for instance, what was your first professional gig when you went into the city and now I'm getting paid to do this?
So I worked for the Green Mountain Guild in Killington, Vermont, for a summer. It was a summer stock, and we were going to do 6 musical theater reviews. And the Green Mountain Guild was pretty famous at the time because it was Meryl Streep's first summer stock job.
Wow.
And so we did these musical reviews, and the theater owner he was not a very nice man. I want to be, fair. And but he wasn't nice, and it was a non-equity show.
Right.
And so there's no protection. So he could call rehearsal. We didn't have time off, but I loved the shows. We did And the World Goes Round, the Candor and Ebb review. We did a Gershwin review, Noel Coward, and it was great. It was great. I would do it now. Like, it was so much fun to just be singing and doing that stuff.
Right.
But the funny thing is, it's funny now. He was so awful about breaking the rules that we protested, and we ended the season, and actually ended not. I mean, that was the end of the Green Mountain Guild because we were making a certain amount of money, but the conditions were really, really poor, and that is part of the business.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So, from that point on, you continue to do musical theater. I know you also do straight acting as well. At what point did the cabaret come into play in your career?
Sort of around that same time. I like singing and I like acting, and then musical theater. So they are 3 separate things.
Right.
Because I wanted to sing songs that I wouldn't be able to, I'm never going to be Laurie in Oklahoma. I was never going to be, Liesl in Sound of Music, but I wanted to sing 16 going on 17. So anyway, so then I would start. I worked with a friend. His name is Anthony Santelmo Jr., and he started something in the city called the No Cover Review, and that was at Judy's, which used to be in the Algonquin. And we did a show once a week. And I did that for, I want to say about 18 months. And that was just great because there were 4 of us, and we had solos and choral work. And then all the time I'm doing that, I'm auditioning and, trying to make money.
Sure.
So it just they all kind of interspersed. What I wanted to say to your point earlier is that I started creating my own work probably about 5 or 6 years into the journey because, auditioning is part of the business. And if you don't like to audition, you either have to like it or, not.
Right.
So, but then I realized that I'm difficult to cast. I was told I was difficult to cast because I'm very tall, and so I just decided that I would start doing concert work and cabaret work and create my own work that way.
Right. And tell us a little bit about that, about your cultivating that and where it's taken you.
Oh, well, it's such a, what a journey because as I told you earlier, it was such an escape for me to be in the theater, because it was like, I was definitely one of those people that there was a marked difference between how I was in rehearsal and how I was in performance, so that when the lights went out,
Right.
I would just come to life. And then over the years, that changed, because I stopped being afraid of the audience and started embracing them. And this is actually a funny story. I was doing Annie, and the theater that I was doing Annie in had undergone a reconstruction, from when we auditioned as opposed to when we opened.
Right.
And it was this standard theater. And then they had made the stage only 18 inches high, and they changed the seating. And so they had to move all these tables and chairs right up until the front of the stage. So when it came time to do Annie, and the first time I did Annie, I was the Laurie Beachman specialty role, which means I was a Boylan sister and the star to be, and the Hooverville, and so anyway, the audience was right here, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I was terrified because I'm like, oh my God, they can see me and I can see them and they can see me seeing them.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I said, okay, sing to them. So I did.
Yep.
Now the kind of the PS to this is that the following show after that was Company. And it was my first Sondheim musical. I love the show. And we go to rehearsal and the director says, so I have decided that I want to do Company in the round as if we're in one big living room. And I was so inspired by Valerie's connection to the audience that we're going to do that. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And that's really the changing moment. That's when now, if I do theater or, if I do cabaret, I want to see the audience. I want to connect. And I think I'm not alone in saying that that's one of the challenging things about this period, is that I have no feedback.
Right.
So from the audience, I can't see them.
Yep.
So weird.
Yeah. It is. Speaking of performing to the bites and bits that are out there, Val was so nice to do a couple of songs for us. The first song we're gonna listen to is called "Everybody's Girl." Tell us just a little bit about how you came to it, and it's so terrific. Just a little bit about it.
Thank you. It's Steel Pier. It's Candor and Ebb. Who doesn't love Candor and Ebb? Chicago, cabaret. I worked with Barry Levitt. Was my musical director for a long time. He said we need to do something a little naughty and fun, and so I did, and I love the song. I've been singing it for like 15 years, and it's just a fun, silly song.
It's terrific, and so without further ado, here's Val with "Everybody's Girl."
Thank you. A long time ago, a lady whose name was Carmen drove a man wild until he was out of control. I truly believe that I am a modern day Carmen, in spite of the fact I do not habla español. That girl was exactly like me. We share this philosophy. Ole, I say. I'm not the type who's ready for dating someone steady. I'm everybody's girl. On Sunday night, it's Danny. On Monday, maybe Manny. I'm everybody's girl. There's a point to my behavior, which is smart girls heart succumbs, don't let it. You're certain to regret it. All others come and get it. I'm everybody's girl. Now I could never be a cowhand's girl. La 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 la. And do you want to know why? Because I just can't keep my calves together. I'm everybody's girl. Some old Greek called Aristotle said it. If you got it, why not spread it? So don't go rattling any sabers, exerting any labors. Just share me with the neighbors. I'm everybody's girl. In case your passion rages, I'm in the yellow pages. I'm girl. You won't be disappointed. I'm also double jointed. I'm everybody's girl. Though it leaves a lot of fellas cursing, I'm a person that needs dispersing. And so to reaffirm my status, it's absolutely gratis to use my apparatus. I'm everybody's girl. Men and me are like pianos. When they get upright, I feel grand. Everybody's girl. Let me put my hair back up.
So great. So great.
Thank
You know,
you.
that's that's one of those shows that so many people have not gotten to see because, you know, it just didn't have the run, but the material is just absolutely amazing, you know, and you did such a beautiful job with it. Thank you so much.
You so
That's
much.
awesome.
That was fun. That was so fun to do that with you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Can't wait to do tons more.
I
What's, you know, there's a lot of material out there. Can you tell us how you go about looking for things? You know, do you actively search things that nobody else does, or, you know, what's that process like?
I really enjoy finding obscure songs, but I also really enjoy reinventing
Mm-hmm.
an existing song.
Yeah.
For example, I Will Survive as a ballad.
Great.
And it works really well. The same thing with Whitney Houston, How Will I Know? I do that. I do those as ballads, and they're beautiful. So I like finding new twists on things. I'm always listening for music. And, you know, I have a long list of songs that I want to learn and perform. And I also like the gender bender thing, you know, where I can sing songs that are normally written for a man. I'd like to do that.
Yep. That's great. That is great. And Val, you teach voice as well?
I teach singing. I don't teach privately anymore, but I do a lot of singing with a lot of different groups. One of the things that I do, I have a real fondness for seniors.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to teach a program called Melodies and Memories in West Hampton Beach, and that was for seniors. It was we created our own show. And so then that's how I started to really love that population. And I still go to the senior centers at the holidays to sing with them. But I have singing classes right now for Parkinson patients and their caregivers through the American Parkinson Disease Association, as well as cancer patients and their caregivers through the Phillips Cancer Center at Stony Brook Southampton Hospital. Those are actually online now. They really transferred well.
Yes.
And knowing that the seniors, some of them haven't been out at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy that. And then I also have another class that I do. It's really a master class in vocal performance. And that's where somebody takes one song and they work on it over a 4 to 6 week period. So it's a great joy for me to do the group singing and to see how people, they love to sing. Everybody wants to sing, Jeff. Everybody.
Right. That's right. I mean, I was so fortunate to get to meet you subbing, how long ago was that? Maybe about a year ago?
Yeah, it's almost a year ago. Isn't that funny?
Unbelievable. And those people, the joy on the faces of those people that got to do their solo lines.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of, because I used to teach middle school as well as high school, would do direct shows. And in the middle school, it was always a joy because you would say to somebody, okay, I want you to take that book and walk from over there and walk across the stage this way. And they would go, yes, and get so excited about something like that. And this is what it reminded me of. Give somebody a solo line and they just lit up and they were so excited to be able to have that as their moment. And it's so great to see. You make them feel wonderful. And
that's nice to hear. Well, I mean, that's to me is the greatest thing, is that I can provide an environment where they feel safe.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they don't live in an environment where they feel safe. A lot of times the stigma is that, oh, well, if you're going to sing, then you have to be a professional. No, sometimes you want to sing just for the sake of singing.
That's right.
I can help you become a better singer, and by helping you become a better singer, you become a better speaker, you become a better breather.
Sure.
It's all connected.
Sure.
But that particular group that we worked with at the Sip and Sing program in West Hampton, a lot of them they had been wanting to sing for a long time. And you're right. One line made all the difference. And, put them in a lovely picture. I'm like the queen of tableau. and then have them sing their stuff. And they were so thrilled. And they had a project and they felt good about themselves. And that's really what it's all about,
So great. It's so terrific. Valerie also has a career as a recording artist. She's done plenty of recordings and tell us, for those who are interested, how can they go about finding some of your recordings and things to listen to?
Oh, well, you can go to my website, www.valeriedilorenzo.com. I have some recordings on the on Facebook. I use social media for professional purposes. Right. So there's there. And I have 2 CDs out and I've been working on a third one for a really long time. And now, there's more of a delay. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe you will work with me on finishing that one. Yeah.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. All right. You heard it here first, folks.
We were supposed to start working together,
Yep.
live. And then, I get, just like everybody else's plans got changed. So we'll see.
It was just literally just before this broke, and we spoke on the phone and we were going to get together, and then everything just stopped. But it'll definitely happen. It'll
happen. All the projects that were supposed to happen in the spring and summer, everything's canceled. Yeah. I mean, everything's canceled through the middle of next year. So, we just do what we got to do.
And you hope that people are taking the time to work on things so that when we come back, there'll be plenty of new theater, there'll be plenty of new music to learn. That's my hope. I have everything crossed, and how it's really hard to play piano with everything crossed. Before we bring Jeff back, you did this song that you introduced me to that I just literally fell in love with.
Oh, that's so nice.
I had never heard it before. As a matter of fact, my wife Diane was in the kitchen while I was just playing around with it, and she was like, that's really, really nice. And I said, I know this is my first exposure to this song, and so thank you for that. It's a gorgeous piece. Who wrote this song, Val?
So that's Francesca Blumenthal. I'm not going to tell you the title yet because it'll ruin the phrase, but Francesca Blumenthal. And then, we just became, professionally friendly as a result of working in the cabaret world. And I started, this was before like the internet. So I used to like send snail mail to these composers and ask them for their songs.
Wow.
Or fax machines, or I went to the public library. But she's got a great collection. And I do have to say, Jeff, that you played that song in such a different way that it made me look at the song in a different way. And it's been a couple of years since I've done the song, and I love it so much, but you really helped me take it in a new direction.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to introduce it because I just want to play it. So we'll see you in a few.
Okay. I believe in star signs, and I believe in film romances. I believe in fantasy, and I believe with just one glance he's crazy for my eyes. 'Cause I believe the lies of handsome men. I believe in witchcraft, and I believe in Cinderella. I believe in gypsies, and I believe I cast a spell that sends him to the skies. 'Cause I believe the lies of handsome men. Somewhere in the corner of my mind, I'm not a fool, completely blind. But even though he's hooked me on his line, I find the pleasure has been mine. So I believe in love songs. They seem to know just what I'm feeling. I believe Prince Charming, I'd never guess he's double dealing. How my spirits rise, believing in the lies of handsome men. Somewhere in a dark and quiet place, I meet the truth face to face. But even if His Highness disappears, I'll keep some stunning souvenirs. So I believe in heroes, and I expect that happy ending, wishing on some rainbows. I pretend he's not pretending. Someday I'll get wise, but right now I need the lies of handsome men.
Just beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's a keeper. That's a keeper.
Thank you.
All right. So this is the point in time where we get to bring Jeff back, and we can play a little game or two.
Okay, good.
There he is.
Yay! It's like a Jeff
That was
sandwich.
beautiful, Valerie.
Thank you so
Really
much,
beautiful.
Jeff. Thank you very much.
A Jeff sandwich. That's
Jeff sandwich.
I will be the first to apologize to you, Val, about that. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Look at that. Look at that. I can't thank you both enough. It's just such a joy for me to have you both on the show, and looking at the comments, and here this is a friend of ours from a long time ago, Don Frayne. Just wow, it just really great, guys, and we're at the point now where we get to actually play a game. And the segment is called Tell Me a Story. So this is the point in the show that I stall so that I can get the slideshow up onto the screen. And there we go. And so the premise of this game is Jeff and Valerie sent me pictures. I took I didn't take all the pictures. I mixed some of the pictures up and made a slideshow. And now they have to claim their picture and tell us a very brief little story about each of these pictures. Hence, tell me a story. Okay, so here is picture number one. Picture number one. Okay, we can go now. Picture number one. Hold on. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Yeah, this was, we have Friday Night Face Off. We have an improv troupe that was started by two of the company members back in 2002, 2003.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up as the host, and I like this picture because it makes it look like I've had an involvement with sports. So my dad would be proud.
That's great. You actually look very, very, very good in that. It looks natural on you.
Well, vertical stripes.
Picture number two.
Oh, that's me. That was in 2017. I did a Sondheim concert, and it was my Guildhall debut.
Oh, wonderful.
Guildhall is a beautiful theater out here in East Hampton, and that was I'm working with Amanda Jones and Steve Shaughnessy, and it was a real treat to not only perform at that theater, but to curate and perform this concert of all Sondheim music.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
Christmas Carol. And that's Doug Quatruck as Bob Cratchit, and Doug has done over 500 performances, closing in on 1,000 actually.
Wow.
As Bob Cratchit, and he's just wonderful. He was actually the first Bob Cratchit that I directed back in '89. And he did it in 89, 91, 93, and then he went away for a number of years, and then he came back, and he's as ingrained in Christmas Carol and in people's minds as I think I am.
Yeah. Jeff, is there anybody else who has done as many productions in the company as you have? Is there anybody who was in it from the beginning and is still in it now?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Ellen Mitchell-Moore probably did close to 1,000 performances as musical director. And there are a few people we call in the 500 Club, George Liberman, Renee Santos Stewart.
Yeah.
And then there are some kids who did it enough years, and they only do half the shows, and they hit 200 performances.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. That's great.
Jeff, how many total performances of Christmas Carol?
1,438.
Fantastic.
Not that I'm counting.
I think these are me again. This is Annie, all the way on the left. That's when I played Miss Hannigan. I did Annie 7 times.
Wow.
And then finally got to play Miss Hannigan, and I loved her.
Yes.
The middle is Blood Brothers. Oh, Blood Brothers. I went to London to get my graduate degree, and Blood Brothers was the first musical I saw. And I had one of those moments that Jeff described. When I saw Blood Brothers, I knew that I was going to do the show someday. And about 7 years later, I did the show at a theater company right outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and it was a stellar experience.
Wow.
And then, Jeff, you and I are 2 for 2 with Oliver there. I played Nancy twice. I loved her. And that dress, my mother made that dress, and I got to wear that dress in both productions.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Oh, this is I Am My Own Wife, which is a fascinating play about Charlotte von Malsdorf, who turned out to be a spy. In the play, I played 36 different people.
Wow.
Most of the time, as you see me on the left, but at the top of Act 2, I played a friend of hers who was in prison. Mary Powers directed me in that. It took me a year to learn it. I worked with a German coach because there was a lot of German in it, and I had to have a German accent and German words. It was the most challenging and rewarding thing I've ever done, you know, from an artistic standpoint. Not an audience favorite, but what can you do?
Right. Exactly. But you know as an actor when it's artistically successful, and you feel that, that's great.
Oh, this is Ladies of Liberty. This is a show that celebrates 100 years of suffrage and women's rights in America. And I first performed it in 2017 when New York celebrated its 100th anniversary. And I just performed it at 5:30 tonight. Tomorrow is the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's great.
Oliver. This is the second production.
Oh,
I did
wow.
Theater 3. That's Jen Collister on the left and Steve McCoy on the right as Nancy and Bill. Jen Collister worked for me. Well, she actually took class with me when she was a kid and did some summer children's theater. Then she came back years later as a company member, and then she worked, again years later. She was actually the drowsy chaperone when we did it. She's an amazing performer and just a glorious voice. Steve McCoy came, he did Kiss Me Kate for us, and La Mancha and Jekyll and Hyde. And then he came and worked for us full time for 7 years, which was really, really amazing. He's an extraordinarily talented man. He's not just an actor, he's a musical director, a director, a choreographer. And while working for us, he became a composer. And we wrote some children's shows together too. So two really incredible people.
Well, if you want to be accurate, that would be 3.
Oh, thank you, Professor Doctor.
All right. We know that's you, Jeff. Oh, did we lose Val? We lost Val. Oh, there she is.
There she is. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Power outage. Okay, so this is Love, Loss, and What I Wore, and I'm standing next to our Suffolk County legislator, Bridget Fleming. We produced that last October at the Southampton Arts Center, and it's just one of my favorite pieces. I directed it and was in it, and I love it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Was that her first time on stage, or did she have experience?
Bridget actually has a lot of experience. She went to dance school and was poised to become a performer. Wow. And went in a different direction. And we had met about 2 years prior to that when I had produced the Vagina Monologues at the same venue.
Right. Very interesting. That's great.
This is From the Fires, Voices of the Holocaust, which is a play I wrote in 1996. It's an educational program that goes to the schools and churches and synagogues and community centers. I've done about 1,000 performances of it. This was a very special performance. The man in the middle is John DeQuilla. He was on our board, and when I was writing the play, he came to me and he said, I was there. He was a medic, and he was part of Patton Spearhead Battalion that liberated Mauthausen.
Wow.
in Austria, and I interviewed him, and the interview and a piece of letter he had written home became the framework for the play. We did a special performance just for the surviving members of his particular battalion and their
yeah.
wives. There were those gentlemen and 2 or 3 of the wives, and we did it just for them. It was very, very special. And in that picture, of course, is Brendan Erlandson, who was
Yep.
Theater 3's longtime associate artistic director and children's musical director, an incredible actor, and really helped me shape From the Fires. It was so important to him, and this is a very special picture.
Wow. That's terrific.
That's great. Oh, this is me and my maestro, Barry Levitt. He did a lot of work on Cabaret. He musically directed Swinging on a Star on Broadway. Quite an illustrious career, playing for everyone from, I don't know, Ben Vereen, Cheetah Rivera, Eartha Kitt. And we had a 13-year relationship. That particular picture was taken at Guildhall. We did a night of Jerry Herman, and 3 days after that picture was taken, Barry unfortunately died of a heart attack.
Wow.
So he was my dear friend and a great, great musical director. And so that's Maestro Barry Levitt.
Oh, wow. He was quite a musician.
Yep.
And like you said, did work with so many people in the industry, shaped a lot of performers. It's so wonderful.
This is kind of fun. This was we were bringing in special events, some children's pieces, and that's actually Roscoe Orman from Sesame Street, Gordon from Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And we did, because he did like a 30-minute one-man thing that was just delightful. And so we opened the first half with a piece of we had a Tales show, and in that picture is me, and that's Brent, again, Jim Colavecchio, Ray Gopes, 2 actors who worked for us a lot, and Ellen Mitchell-Moore, the musical director who had just started acting before I came to the theater, and then did a lot of acting for me, both in the children's theater and on tour, and she did main stage and second stage, and it was one of those fun experiences, and he was just a great guy. It was just kind of fun.
That's terrific. That's terrific.
Oh, this is me and Mr. Richard Chamberlain. And we did a workshop reading of a new musical about a year ago called Unlikely Allies, which was written by Martin Ribet. And it's based on a true story of a cross-dressing American soldier who helped during the American Revolution. And so Richard played Benjamin Franklin, and he was just delightful and wonderful. And we've maintained a friendship ever since.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Very cool. And that is the end.
Oh, so soon. So soon.
Oh, man. Guys, I can't thank you enough. It was such a joy to have you both on, and to learn so much more about you guys. And, you know, the joy that I have working at Theater 3 is, you know, there are no words for it. It's so nice to have a special home and to feel special being there. And that's due to you, Jeff, and everyone, Viv, everyone at the place. I can't tell you, it's been a long time since I've had that. And to have you on here is very special to me. And Val, you know, we met one time.
I know. We've only just begun.
Yeah, but I feel as though I know you for forever. And thank you so much. such a wonder. Both songs were just spectacular. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. And Jeff, thank you so much. I hope we
you.
can collaborate someday.
Yeah.
I feel so honored to be on with you, Jeff. This is so great to share this with you.
Hopefully the idea was to start this out in this manner at some point when we are allowed to be near other human beings. The goal is to have it in my living room and broadcast it live. Great. So that we can actually perform together and not create videos. so that will be, hopefully when that happens, we'll have you both back and we'll do another one.
Great.
So,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll see everybody next week. We don't have a week off this time. So next week, keep in touch and you will find out who our guests will be. During this week, I will put it out onto Facebook. Thank you, everybody. Thanks again, guys. See you soon.
Thank you.